Welcome back to the Strength and Speed podcast. We are back for another episode, another All Conquer the Gauntlet Pro episode. Joining me, I have Brenna Calvert.
Hey, glad to be back.
Yeah, it's been like forever. I don't know when the last time we recorded an episode was. It was a long time ago, though.
Yeah.
And we have another Conquer the Gauntlet Pro joining us, Lisa Nondorf.
Hey, everybody.
Yeah. Before we read Lisa's bio, get into the questions, this episode is brought to you by Atomic Climbing Holds. Atomic Climbing Holds is a sponsor of the Conquer the Gauntlet Pro team. They make some great rig grips and holds and pegboard receivers, all sorts of good stuff, whether you're prepping for Ninja or prepping for a Savage or a Conquer the Gauntlet. Definitely some great stuff, and I would check out their website, especially the Deals of the Day section. They usually do a thing where they give away free holds if you're already placing an order. So it allows you to stack on a bunch of extra stuff to your order for no extra cost. Brenna, any opinions on Atomic?
I swear by them. I think the entire team does. I have them hanging up in my gym, and then hopefully if y'all are coming out to Conquer the Gauntlet events, we will have a demonstration with their peg holds in a board so you can kind of see how you can set that up at home. So check us out at the Pro Team tent on race day, and you can get a sneak peek of some of their actual holds in person and see what they're like.
Right on. All right, let's jump into the podcast. Like I said, we have Lisa Nondorf joining us. Lisa sent me a several-page bio. It's like her life story. It's awesome.
It's what happens when you're old. You have a lot of life stories.
If I read it, the whole podcast is just going to be me reading her bio. So I'm going to not read it. No. But it's kind of the big highlights was not really into athletics that much growing up. Started getting into diving at the end of, was it high school?
Yeah,
yep.
I started diving in high school.
And then,
so I was a gymnast a little bit before, competitive, but I don't remember much of it. So it obviously was not a big, huge component of my life.
So anyway, so gymnast, then she goes into diving, starts diving at college, breaks some school records, ends up being a professional diver, is working at Six Flags Great America just outside Chicago, which sounds like the coolest summer job ever. Continues... kind of doesn't really do much fitness after her diving career ends, and then runs her first 5K in 2012, and then first 10K 2 years later, and then
Correct.
And then gets into obstacle course racing after some friends convinced her to do it. Ends up running at the infamous Spartan Cruise and makes a small amount of cash there. And then from that, does a couple more Spartans, gets involved in Battle Frog, and then that kind of is where everything took off. Falls in love with Battle Frog, Conquer the Gauntlet, was on the Battle Frog TV show. So,
right.
That's a quick bio. Yeah.
That is a quick bio. That's exactly it. I needed you to summarize it. That's perfect.
I really want to post this publicly because it is so long. Okay.
In your old age, you get a little wordy.
You do. Just wait. You guys you'll get there. You're almost there.
Yeah. We realized a couple. I think it was the last podcast we recorded with Brenna that I'm the oldest guy on the team, and we have some. And it was a couple of weeks ago. Someone asked for our birthdays in the private Facebook group, and there was some people born in 92.
It was sad.
Which was
and I'd already graduated high school.
I think
disclaimer to everyone listening, we're allowed to say this and tease Lisa about being old because she does it, but please, everybody, don't walk up to her and just comment on how old she is. It's out of family love here.
No, it's okay. I make fun of myself. So, but I think that, you know what, it's part of it, and I'm happy to be older. I'm okay with it. Turning 40 was a great milestone for me. So I enjoy it, so I'm okay.
And then it's just going to be more embarrassing when she beats you on the course. So,
Exactly. That's why I really can't tease too much, because she's already beats me now. So, not saying, I don't know.
All right, so we're gonna start talking about some of her diving career, what that was like, what some lessons we can draw from that, and then talking about what she has coming up this season. And also, I reached out to Jay Flores, Lisa's partner in crime, and he gave me a couple questions that I need to follow up with you, which should be good.
Oh no. Oh, that can't be good.
All right, so let's start off with diving career, right? So how did you end up getting involved in diving? Take us through a little bit of that story.
Well, I kind of fell upon it. I was living in Colorado at the time, and diving was a pretty big sport in Colorado, which is a little insane. Gymnastics wasn't as big, and diving was big. So I made the transition over and actually started diving at Colorado State as well as high school. And so it was just a smooth fit. It kind of made sense, when you find a sport and you just go, oh, I can actually do this. That's kind of what it was. I mean, it took a couple of years to learn the fundamentals, but then I moved back to Wisconsin, and my junior and senior year, it clicked, and so it kind of followed all of my strengths, where I have a pretty good sense of air awareness. And then my core is super strong, and you really kind of need that for diving. So it just was an easy fit for me.
Now, when we're talking diving, what height, I would say, did you start at, and then what's the highest height you've dived off of?
Okay, so I started at 1 meter springboard, but I transitioned to 3 meter pretty quick because I dove at a university. So I did both all the way through college, and I dove platforms at nationals as well. The highest platform that you'll see competitively is it's about 33. It's pretty high in the air. It's 10 meters. So it's 33 feet. Now, the highest I've ever dove is 100 feet. So, and that was in stunt diving. So we call it a 10-story building, and our pool depth is anywhere from 10 to 12 feet. So it's just a little bucket. So, but that's, my highest has been 100. It's probably like a 98, not a true 100, but close.
And for those who watch World's Toughest Moto or have participated, the jump off of the cliff is about 35 feet. So, that is a significant height difference if you're jumping off.
Yeah, it's about 30 aboard.
Yeah, insane. And with
a pool.
With the pool only 10 to 12 feet deep, I mean, obviously form plays a big part, right? Otherwise, you hurt yourself either on the impact of the water or at the bottom of the pool.
Correct. You'll touch the bottom of the pool, but you slow down pretty quickly. I mean, you hit the water pretty hard. So, yeah, there have been a couple injuries. I got away with minor stuff, but I've seen some nasty injuries. But again, every sport has that. So, the highest we used to also do what's called a fire dive. So you truly light yourself on fire, and then you dive into the water. So the highest I've ever done a fire dive from is actually 35 feet. So that's pretty cool.
So so obviously you said stunt diving too. So because you were a gymnast, I mean, how do you practice diving and flipping? Are you doing gymnastics type stuff out of the water for practice? Or do you just literally, they put you on a board and they're like, okay, go flip?
I had the gymnastics background, but the big transition from gymnastics to diving is in gymnastics, we land everything on our feet. And when you dive, you land everything on your head. So actually stunt diving, when you're jumping from that height, anything above probably 50 feet, you're landing everything on your feet. So actually it was a little bit smoother of a transition for me to high dive because of landing feet first versus head first. But the flips and everything are very similar. Twisting is a little bit different. Divers have more time because we're higher in the air. So it's a very similar sport. There's a lot of sports for gymnasts that people don't recognize are actually similar. Diving and gymnastics, I think people put two and two together, but pole vaulting in gymnastics actually is very similar. So a lot of our gymnasts are recruited to be pole vaulters, so because of the kipping motion that's required. So gymnastics, having a gymnastics background kind of helped me with a lot of things I do. Like I said, it increased my air awareness and space awareness greatly, which helped my diving.
That is pretty crazy. Have you ever seen Cirque du Soleil, the water one?
I did. I actually just saw it this year. But in fact, I was actually called to audition for Cirque du Soleil when I was still, it was probably when it first came out. And the funny story is I kept saying, I cannot quit my job and run off and join the circus. And now I look, what was I thinking? Like, I should have done that. All the crazy things I do in my life, and I didn't take that opportunity. So, but yeah, that was a really cool show. I actually literally just saw it this year at Christmas.
Oh yeah, it's amazing. Olympic caliber, at least from my perspective. I mean, I'm not an expert diver or judge of diving, but it seems like they're like Olympic caliber athletes, jumping and flipping off everything, and the stage is like crazy. It's there's a big pool, but like you can enter the pool from off stage. So essentially, people are like swimming out of nowhere, right? Like, and they dive in and they don't come back up because they swim off stage. So
I know it was way cool. I was super impressed. So, and being out of the sport of diving for as long as I've been, it was really cool to go back and watch stuff, and it was neat.
So if World Toughest Mudder ever goes back to Vegas, you can hit up Cirque du Soleil or just yeah. Good information, a little bit too late for most of the audience. Oh well.
I'll send them my bio. It'll take them forever to read it, but it's okay.
Well, and so you said, like, talking about diving and gymnastics combined, I don't know how many people have seen or followed that, like, lately you have been focusing not solely on CrossFit, but you kind of have been building your strength because of your experience with TMX last season. So talk a little bit, I guess, did you have a good, basically going into CrossFit, already being such an athlete, especially with the gymnastics, that's kind of been a strong suit for you there? Like, again, you're able to do everything pretty easily with your transition?
I won't say easily, but it's been funny because I started doing CrossFit, and I lifted minimal weights. We had to do weightlifting, weight training when I was diving, but again, we're talking over 20 years ago. So I started lifting again because of TMX, and I joined two guys that are in my gym, and we all kind of started doing CrossFit together. It's been funny to see the things that just naturally, like, I'm either talented at or I'm bringing from the past, like all the handstand work. We had one workout, and I remember it was the first one we had to do handstands, and it was like walking, 50 yards or something in the handstand, and I was like, okay, I'm done. And the guys couldn't even do a handstand. So they were like, well, what are you doing? And I was like, I finished. What are you doing? And so, and then muscle ups for me, bar muscle ups actually, like, I just natural. And so the guys get very frustrated because here they are bench pressing over 200 pounds, and my little self is excited about like 140, and I can destroy them on bar muscle ups. And so I learned to ring muscle up within I think 3 weeks, just because I couldn't do it, and I got really frustrated. And so I was like, I'm doing this. And then, it ended up being in the CrossFit Open workout. And so that was pretty neat to all of a sudden be able to do a ring muscle up. But, CrossFit has been actually a really smooth transition as well for me. I just don't focus on the heavy lifting, but all the movements and things like that have been pretty easy. But again, I'm not lifting 280 pounds like some of these girls. It's insane.
See, I like it. In the beginning, Evan said, watch out because, you're masters, but you're beating the young people, me included. Watch out, boys. I mean, seriously. If you're, kicking the ass of, the guys you work, not all the time, but boys you're working out with, you're showing them up. I like it.
Yeah, so it's fun. Like, we always laugh. I'm very, very fortunate to have two amazing training partners here. Once Jay moved away, I kind of was like, what am I going to do? But we all have an area where we're super strong, and it's a little bit different than each other. So as we don't write our workouts, we actually get our workouts, and it's pretty neat to have people like that you can see the workout and be like, okay, I know who I'm going to be fighting to, try to keep up with. And so it's pretty fun. It's, it makes working out like so much fun. So.
And I think it's funny. We have to put another disclaimer out there. We've referenced Jay several times, and obviously some people know, but we're talking about Jay Flores, who's another Conquer the Gauntlet Pro team member. But it was always like, you'd say, who's Jay, or talk about Jay, and be like, yeah, Jay and that lady with him, we always referenced. It was like always Lisa, or vice versa. It's like Lisa and that young guy with her, like, who's that? It's like Lisa and Jay. They're like, they come together. They're a pair.
It's true. We still kind of feel that way, but he lives in Miami. And I'm still in Wisconsin, but he's actually I was supposed to be in Minnesota with him, but they're at American Ninja this weekend. I just could not make it. So super sad, but we'll see everybody next weekend. So I'm super excited.
Yes. And for whenever, I don't know when you're putting this out, but we're all excited because the first CTG Dallas coming up, and it's going to be like our biggest showing, I think. I think Tulsa will have another showing of like majority of the team, but I'm excited. It's the first we have all the girls except for Ashley, so I don't think that's happened yet.
Yeah.
So
Thank God for being a Masters. I can just wave at you guys and be like, okay, it's like 100 degrees here. I'm from the north.
Yeah, I've heard it a little bit, but all the girls were so, like, each one of us, everyone's like, yeah, no, we're all going to suck, when it's like, whatever. And we're all head cases, so we're all kind of talking each other up while we talk ourselves down. Because it's the first event, so new obstacles, new stuff, no one knows. We don't have I don't have the intel from Build Crew, so I can't, like, pass on any details.
Oh, it's rough. We're just as blind as everybody else, so it's kind of fun.
Yeah.
Is that excitement of, well, how's this going to go?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
All right, before we start getting too off track here, let's jump back a little bit. So take me through a weekly schedule when you're a diver. Like, what was your workouts like? I went to college at St. Bonaventure University, which is upstate New York. And so it's a small private Catholic college. Our pool, we were the conference champions every year I was there. But our pool was small. It definitely wasn't one of the favored sports. I mean, my school was so small, we didn't have a football team because we were too small. So our big sports were definitely basketball, baseball, and soccer, believe it or not. And so we had to share the pool with our swimmers. And so we actually got the crummy practice time. So we tell everybody we practiced from 8 a.m. until 10 a.m. in the morning. So morning classes sometimes were tough. You were going to class soaking wet. But then we had weights in the afternoon, so you had to go and spend an hour in the weight room. But then we had evening practice again from 8 p.m. till 10 p.m. at night. So we were training about 5 hours a day, 5 days a week. And then our season, we had the longest season. I think our sport is actually the longest season. We started a month into school. We were into preseason already, so already training with our coach. And then nationals was after spring break. So I think I only had 2 months of the school year that I was not in quote-unquote season. So, by Halloween we were already competing and then not finishing competitions until about April. I think mid-April. Yeah, that is a long season. So when you said you're in the weight room, what kind of weight training were you doing?
A lot of core strengthening. I always say I don't know why, but I do know why. But it's to get into like tight shapes, things like that. Doing some leg work and a little bit of arm work, but again repetitious. It wasn't anything overly heavy. Like we would do Olympic lifts, like back squat, bench press. But then a lot of shoulder stabilization, so a lot of shoulder work because you're entering the water so many times on your shoulders. So tricep work, things like that. So kind of more of the stabilizers versus root strength. So.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
And
zero cardio, like none. We did no cardio. So I think one day my coach made us run a mile, and I remember wanting to die. Thinking, what am I doing? I'm running a mile. This is insane. So, yeah, it was pretty bad.
So do you have something that someone from the outside wouldn't think about it? If something you have to do as a diver? Like something unexpected?
A lot, again, it's the core strength that a lot of people don't realize. Like, and my coach was a little intense. I guess it's kind of where I learned a lot of my training from. I'm thankful for him. At the time, I wanted to scream at him a lot, but he would time our abs, and I honestly, to this day, we're talking 20 years later, can still tell you our ab circuit. And we had to do we did 1,500 abs, and it was timed. I had 10 minutes to get it done, and it was like 250 crunches, 250 right over left, 250 left over right. Like, the fact that we did it every single day. So I tell everybody when I make the joke that when I look back at old pictures, I'm like, I was long and lean with some ripped abs. That's what I looked like a toothpick with abs. So, but it helped with, because, like Brenna alluded to before, how do we practice diving? Well, you crash a lot. So I would end up with a lot of bruises. I've had black eyes. I've actually had to have surgery. I've hit the diving board a few times. I never hit my head, so I'm thankful for that.
Are you sure about?
Yeah, I know, right? I'm starting to wonder. Maybe I've blacked it out, but no, so it's. We always laugh and say it's diving, and everyone watches it and they're like, it's so beautiful. It hurts. If you've ever done a belly flop, it hurts. So I always warn people that we strengthen core to help with when you would smack, it wouldn't hurt as bad, I guess. I don't know. It hurts, so.
All right, last diving question, and then we'll switch to OCR. So what lessons can you pull from diving that apply to OCR?
A lot of just learning that you can do more than you think you can. And when things are scary, that it's okay to be afraid, but it's not okay to give into your fear. So when you're learning a new dive, it's scary when your coach says, okay, now I want you to jump in the air and flip 3.5 times. And hopefully you'll know where you are, so when you kick out, you'll hit the water. And so your initial response is, oh, God, I might not make it through this, but then you take a deep breath and you go, you know what? I'm not going to let my fear determine what I'm going to be capable of doing. And that's kind of my mentality going into OCR, is if I'm afraid of it, that's okay. It's okay to have that, but it's not okay to not push yourself and try.
That's great. I love that. Great lesson. All right, so let's start talking about some of the local OCRs you've been doing and getting into. So what have you done so far this season?
So far this season, well, I just finished the Dirt Runner, so Midwest Mayhem. So it was located on the Dirt Runner course. I believe this is going to be that was the last time they're using the actual Dirt Runner course. It's kind of a shame because
update. They're doing one more in July. Warrior Rush. July.
Oh, excellent.
So if
you haven't raced on Dirt Runner, I would go out and do it just to race out on Dirt Runner, because it is. I think Spartan used to use that course. I know that I've raced there for Battle Frog, same course. The terrain is just amazing. It's tough. You think Illinois and you think, oh, it's not going to be. The hills and everything are just amazing. So, and TK does a great job. I was very surprised. I made fun of him because he does kind of split that course up into 3 different avenues. Like, he'll do out the gate, it's the walls and the carries, and he's not playing with the carries. Those are some of the heaviest carries I've done to date. So he had no differential for the girls and the guys. In the open waves, I think the girls got some lighter weights, but in the elite wave, we carried the same weights as the guys. And then he's got the whole genre of obstacles. And it's pretty cool because you can see everything. So for spectators, they can see this whole gauntlet of obstacles. And I honestly think there's about 30 of them.
Yeah, there's a lot.
And they're back. It's like they don't end. And then his obstacles have obstacles in them. So, like, I think there was the one, and I think you did it last year, Evan, where you have to go and pick up the Atlas Stone, carry the Atlas Stone back, but the Atlas Stone is sitting inside of a tire, and then you have to drag the tire back to you, and then you drag it back, and then you go back and pick up your Atlas Stone, and then you have to replace it in the tire. And that's one obstacle. And there's like 30 of these. So it's like the never-ending obstacles. And fortunate enough for me in that race, that tends to be where I excel. So the initial portion, I was actually running in second place until the obstacles. And then luckily, thank God for, grip strength, hint atomic holds, everyone. I was able to brace, get through the obstacles on the first try and all of that. So, and then there's the backwoods. He kind of tests your emotional stability there because he has these tunnels and they're filled with water. And I never knew that I had a fear of drowning until this race. And then it became super real. But it's not, and then I'm like thinking, as you're running, you're like, you're such a baby. Like everybody else did it. And you get done with the race and everybody is saying how that was the scariest thing they've ever done. So I felt a little relieved. But, I mean, it's like this, it's not even a huge tunnel, but it's probably, I don't know. Last year it was more full. So last year I think it was more scary. And this year we didn't have the rain. So I think it's like 3/4 of the way full. And you're literally like face planting the top of this tunnel. Like, yeah, it was a little scary. So he does obstacles like that too. That's going to test your fears, like fear of heights in the middle of the woods. And you're kind of by yourself in the middle of the woods, and then these tunnels. And yeah, so it was just a really cool race. So I was happy to be able to race, early in the season at home, which never happens here. So that was way cool.
Yeah, the first time I did that course was so I did it for BFX Chicago when they did it there, but they didn't use all the obstacles that some of them were talking about. So the first time I actually did the actual dirt runner course was during OCR America, and I'm by myself for a lot of these. So like again, you're going through the tunnel and you're like, there's no one around, no one can see you, and no one's gone through ahead of you, right? So there's not like a beaten path. And, like, no one scared the frogs away, so there's, like, frogs jumping off of my face and, like, bouncing off my legs. It's like, oh, man.
Well, I had a friend, and he was like, Lise, there's a huge, long tunnel that goes up into the – I mean, this tunnel is long, and you just look into it, and all you see is, like, a little patch of light, but you're going uphill. And I'm like, how many spiders are living in this tunnel? But my friend was like, well, it wasn't just spiders. He's like, I actually picked up a frog and carried it out because he knew the next person would probably, like, smush it. And I was like, oh, my God. He's like, oh, hopefully that was the tunnel I went in and I didn't smush any frogs.
that uphill tunnel is awful, by the way. I was, especially, like, for Midwest Mayhem, I was doing multi-lap. So, after a couple laps, you're just, like, dreading that tunnel. And you get in it and the heat of my body was just reflecting off the tunnel and back into me, and I'd come out of there like dripping in sweat, exhausted from side crawling up this thing. So.
Oh my God, it's hilarious. Yeah, I just laugh because you look at it and you're like, seriously? Oh my God, okay, take a deep breath. And you are like, I was running completely on my own, so I was like, the only thing I could think of in the water tunnels, like seriously, the irrational things that go through your brain was. So if I die, I'm going to scare the next person behind me because they're going to run into my body coming through this tunnel. But that's really what was going through my brain. Like, just don't die because you'll scare the next person. Like, don't do it. So yeah, but it was, I mean, nothing is overly dangerous. It's just that mental fear, like some people, like you said, have it jumping off of 35 feet. And I never knew that drowning was going to be, I mean, I scuba dived. I didn't think drowning was an issue until that race. And now I'm like, yeah, that might be a fear I own. So yeah.
And how did you place in that event?
I took first overall female.
Awesome.
So yeah,
And
so
they have pretty cool awards too, don't they? Like, is that the one that has
yeah,
or something?
yeah. Well, the benefit of being a Masters is I got to double dip. So I took first overall female and first Masters, and he got like dragon heads, like I mean, they're heavy dragon heads, and they're gold, and it's pretty cool. So I have 2 dragon heads now, which is really kind of cool. So if you haven't run them, like the awards are amazing. The course is like really cool. The running is great back in those woods, and after you finish all the obstacles, it just feels kind of good to just go for a trail run and do a couple more obstacles. So yeah, I recommend it to everybody because it's really a good race. And then I know he's doing some other stuff. I know TK is working. He wants to build OCR in Greece, so he's headed over there as well. But then he's doing some other locations. I know he's actually looking for a Wisconsin venue to do a race in Wisconsin. And so I think he's going to be taking, they're going to call it DR and traveling it. So we might want to look for that local.
Yeah, nothing's finalized yet, so everything's kind of still up in the air, but the plan is to take it mobile and hit some other locations in the Midwest and then maybe even East Coast. So more to follow on that.
Yes.
Well, also, so you've been doing not just local to home, but like a more local venue. Didn't you travel earlier in the season or just recently Louisiana, right, for a kind of local venue?
I did. It's called Vanguard Race. I did their first race series ever, so their inaugural race, which was in New Orleans. And again, holy crumbs. It was just a 5K, and it's a building race, and their obstacles were like no other. I mean, for it being a first-time small local race, the build on the obstacles were like they've been doing this for years. I never felt, like I hate to say sometimes you get on an obstacle, you're like, oh, that's a little sketchy. Like there was none of that. And the use of terrain, everything. And I didn't get lost, which is huge for me.
Whoa.
So
that's crazy.
That's amazing. So the marking, the everything was just unbelievable. So I'm actually headed out there on June 9th and 10th. I'm going to do their second race, and it's kind of this cool thing. They've partnered with the Louisiana Sports Festival, and so they are a component in the sports festival. So the sports festival has like all of these races you can do. So they're doing like rock climbing. So you can compete in rock climbing. You can compete. There's a trail race at night that you can do. I know that Andy Hardy is coming out and leading like a hurricane heat. They're calling it the Big Easy. And then there might be a biking or a try. I mean, it's just a lot of things. And then Vanguard is doing their traditional 5K on Saturday, which I'll be racing in. And then they're also doing on Sunday what they're calling a time trial. So it's going to mimic like the OCR Worlds and North American 3K, where it's all the obstacles in a short period. I think they're doing a mile with a boatload of obstacles. So, and that's on Sunday. So I'm excited to do that just because I think that this series is got a definite place. I mean, the obstacles are challenging. The nice thing that they did is they did their rig was super short. But instead of like burping out or anything like that, they have penalties. So the penalty was actually a tire flip. And they timed the tire flip to take like 3 minutes. So you had to flip the tire basically for 3 minutes. So if you failed the obstacle, they weren't going to disqualify you, but you basically were going to take a 3-minute tire flip, which was unreal. And some of the girls couldn't flip the tire. So they were stuck at the obstacle, but couldn't do the penalty because they couldn't lift the tire. So, but they ended up getting through the obstacle, which was awesome. But then after the elites podiums finished, they went through and changed some of the lanes of the obstacles to make them a little bit easier and more friendly for open waves. So when the open waves came through, they could choose. They could try the harder lanes, but then they could, if they wanted to, they could go to the easier lanes so that it wasn't, it felt like you could still accomplish the race and things like that. And then the open waves were allowed to do tire flips as well if they wanted. So it's kind of a happy medium between that mandatory and, doing burpees because I love them.
You almost whisper. You got quiet. You're like, burpees.
Oh, sorry. I moved my phone away probably. So
it's okay. We don't like to say it either, but
yeah. So yeah, it's and like I said, I'll be out there June 9th and 10th. I know I'm excited to run the second race for them. I know they're already out on build, so they're already building, and I know that there's a storm coming their way. So but like I said, their obstacles will withstand the storm because it's not bad. The only obstacle that I screamed at was the bucket carry, and that's because for some reason somebody thought that carrying a bucket full of sand would be more forgiving. Plus, you have to fill the bucket with sand while you're sweaty. Which is brilliant. That bucket of sand would be lighter than gravel. Which it did not feel lighter, and I was full of sand. So
like a sugar cookie.
Yeah, and then the bucket's on you with the sand, and I was like, this is horrible. But I got through it. I made some precious faces, so my photos were quite pretty because I'm right at the end of the race. And so, trying to hold off, I was in first and trying to maintain first doing a bucket carry. I was not the most excited person, but I was able to do it, so I was happy.
What else, do you have any other, so you said that's coming up in June, do you have any other local venues or events you're checking out, or just other plans for the season?
I'll be at CTG Dallas next weekend, so I'm super excited for the first one. Can't wait to see the new surprises. And then I'll be at Vanguard the following weekend. And then it looks like I will be, hitting some terrain races. We've got 2 in Wisconsin now. So that's pretty cool. They've added a second location. So one of them, Slinger, is actually a ski slope in Wisconsin. It's not a ski slope like in Pennsylvania or Colorado, but it is a ski slope in Wisconsin. And then they've added Oshkosh. And it's going to be on. We have an Air Force, it's kind of like a base, but it's like a museum. And so they're doing it there, which is really kind of cool. And then I'm looking at Savage Chicago. So some more local stuff. But then hitting a couple more CTGs along the way. So and possibly the third Vanguard race of the season.
I know you got a gold medal at the U.S. Championships last year, correct? With the 15K?
Correct.
And
3K.
3K and the 15K.
Mm-hmm.
You plan on doing NORAM this year, North American Championships, and defending your title?
I'm going to defend it. It's going to be a hard defend, I think, this year, adding in, because I think it's going to be more split. I think a lot of people chose USA Champs. It was the first year last year. It was a phenomenal race. I thought they did an amazing job again. But I will be back at North American, and you'll have added in all the other, it's not just US this year, so it'll be interesting.
Yeah, the Canadians like to take a lot of the top spots, so.
They do. So
on official build for NORAM and just being on the build side and talking about innovation for obstacles. It's pretty exciting, so it's going to be a good event.
Well, I'll be going back to Worlds as well this year, and so super excited to see that because I've heard it's going to have that European influence. So, I'm excited about hard obstacles, so I'm like influence away, because that's, for me, that's the challenge I like. I like showing up to a race and, wondering, I wonder if today's going to be the day that I DNF a course, I don't think I'd want to be around me if that ever happens, but I always like that feeling of, or, you finish and you feel a sense of huge accomplishment. It's not even about where did I finish in placement to other people. It's I did it and I succeeded, and I like that sense. I like that feeling.
So with that, I want to jump into some of Jay's questions. The first one's actually a serious one. So Jay wants to know, I would like to know what she wants her legacy to be.
Ooh. Oh, God. I'm going to kill him. My legacy, I think that right now, I like to think that, and Heidi Williams is another one that's doing it as well. There's a couple other Masters athletes that we're trying to redefine what it means to be a Masters athlete. And not just redefine it, because I think Masters athletes have always been a force when it comes to the running. But redefine it when it comes to the strength, the obstacles, the grit, all of that stuff, especially with your females. Proving that, once you hit 40, you can still grow, you can still build, you can still, you can still walk onto a course and go, yep, I can do this. And I just want to see people realize that they don't have to retire at 45. They don't have to retire, I started doing this at 39. I only did 4 races prior to being 40, and every year I just want to keep growing and showing that, it's cool. It's really cool to be 40 and 50 and 60 years old and go crank out 30 pull-ups, or, it's doable. So I think that that's kind of where my mentality is just, hey, it's, we can still be up there. We can still rock it. So.
That was a good answer for a serious question that wasn't expected.
I know. Wow. So, yeah.
All right, now let's follow it up with some of his other questions. So Jay wants to know about your first bus ride on your first race in Puerto Rico and your support to Puerto Rico.
Oh, yeah. So, Puerto Rico, I will always hold dear in my heart. And a lot of it is, Jay is definitely one of my best friends, and I believe in supporting Puerto Rico 100%. The people out there I can't speak enough about them and everything that they went through in this last year, especially with all the hurricane, everything, just hearing that people are still getting power back. I mean, I can't even imagine, watching Jay go through everything he went through, not being able to speak to relatives, that kind of thing. But my first bus ride in Puerto Rico, so we went out to Puerto Rico, and racing this race, and I have no clue. They speak Spanish. My Spanish is sketchy. I can kind of understand, but they don't speak nice, slow Spanish. They speak very fast Spanish. So I can't understand much of anything. We get on this bus, and you know how you get on a normal bus for an OCR race here, and people are putting on their shoes, people are kind of talking to each other, but you're just bouncing around on the little yellow bus. These people, you would have a dance party on the bus. They are blaring music, singing, screaming, dancing. It is like a 6 a.m. wake-up call. It's a party on the bus. So we're driving in, and I must have had the biggest eyes looking at Jay going, do these people know my coffee hasn't kicked in yet? What is going on this bus right now? And then I find out it happens on every bus ride that you race in Puerto Rico. These are some partying people. That's all I know. Party fools. But wow, are they amazing. I am on Team Puerto Rico with Jay, and I will absolutely be going back to Puerto Rico as often as possible. I communicate with them as much as possible, and I will always be a supporter of that team and and building Puerto Rico with OCR. I think it's just amazing. And I think their spirits are absolutely something you can't find in many places. I guess I would tell everyone, you need to go race a race in Puerto Rico, and you'll understand exactly what I'm saying. Because if you think our festival grounds are parties, you need to go to Puerto Rico. It's a party. So.
Yeah, I wanted to make it down to one of the races this year, but it just didn't fit in with my schedule. I know Jay was, our group was talking about some of the, like, Apocalypse race or something else that goes on down there. So, yeah, definitely a good racecation to look at in the future.
Exactly.
Then a follow-up. So I heard there was some shenanigans going on in the Chicago Battle Frog team house. He just wanted to know some more information about that. So for those who don't know, Lisa was on a team, the Chicago Battle Frog Series team, that was televised on ESPN, also with Jay.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm sure there's other teammates that still talk, but I can tell you that TV show absolutely changed my life for the fact that Jay, Julie, and Learl, it's Learl Rugland, Julie Hartage, and Jay and I were all on the same team. And creating that team was kind of comical because, Learl lives in Minneapolis, Julie lives in northern Wisconsin, Jay lived in Milwaukee, and I live in Madison, but we were Team Chicago. But it just happened to be that that's the team we created. And we are still four of the closest friends ever. We just talked all day today. Like, we talk on a daily basis. They are some of the most amazing people to bounce training off of, because if you know any of them, one, Jay is really, really good at obstacles, and so that's kind of what he's known for. What is kind of taken a second seat is actually how fast he is. He's actually a phenomenal runner. Everyone knows Learl can run. It's kind of ridiculous how fast Learl is. I don't even think it's human sometimes. He's a year older than me, so he's turning 44 this year. Or he just turned 44. So, and to run as fast as him is, like, I'm like, okay. He'll say things like, oh, I went out for a 10-miler, held the 6-minute pace. That felt great. I'm like, really? Like, seriously? I went out for a 1 mile, can't hold a 6-minute pace. But Julie also is amazingly fast. So for me, being the no runner in the group, it's extremely humbling. But our house was a ridiculous party. So we strung a slack line in the middle of our cabin from one bedroom to the other. And possibly we were on the slack line at night. Possibly we bent in a door frame or two. We just kind of were the acrobats. I mean, we had a Dharma wheel and what?
Bent too.
What? Oh yeah, Jeffrey Bent was in our house as well. So that added to the chaos. And so the Dharma wheel, we all decided that it would be a brilliant idea to put it on top of the kitchen counter and try to balance on it.
Nice.
Yeah. So it was constantly like sheer entertainment. And the crazy thing is we don't really drink. So we did all of this sober. So,
that's amazing.
Yeah. So, and
there's
Brenna's breaking up a little bit, so we keep losing her.
A little bit. Yeah.
And then
but it was fun.
How did you guys actually do? You did pretty well on the show, if I recall correctly.
Yeah, we did. We ended up taking, I think, 5th. And we make a joke because we were the second oldest team out there. Sweden was older than us by 1 year. So we thank Jay for being the baby. Evidently the baby on that team. So there's a lot of inside jokes about that Julie, Jay, and I are all the same size. And Learl is actually, we're like, ooh, who let the big guy on the team? Because he wears a medium, And like Jay is like 10 years younger than all of us. I remember submitting like our clothing size and our ages and everything. And I was like, who the hell was born, what, in 1989? And the rest of us were born in the 70s. So, I mean, we're like, what? So there's a lot of inside jokes amongst all of us. And so yeah, but I think we ended up in 5th place. We lost to the same team. You have to lose twice. We ended up having to race the same team twice, which was actually, it was Team Denver. And it was when both of the girls were we got one of their healthy girls, and then we ended up with when their alternate, when one of their girls got injured, we were their first race back. So we said, "Oh, that kind of stunk. Nothing like having to race the number 1 seed twice." So we got the boot, but it was, I mean, oh my God. Well, Brenna, you were with us, and it was just, I mean, it was fun.
It was amazing. I just remember always teaching Julie how to take a selfie. Like she took her first selfie.
Yeah, Julie, up until we went to Atlanta, she only had a flip phone.
Yeah,
so she
awesome.
Never had a phone that could like take selfies or anything. So when I say Julie's from North Wisconsin, I'm not joking.
And this is like 2016. This is not like a decade ago. For those of you who missed the Battle Frog show.
Sorry, Julie. Yeah, it was just a couple of years ago. She's gotten better. She's gotten a lot better. And she knows how to use social media now, which is really cool because before we used to have lessons on social media too.
And Julie, if you want to hear more from Julie, we had her on the podcast after U.S. Championships when she finished 3rd in the 3K. So
she killed it. That was awesome.
Yeah, like dark horsing it up. Like people were like, "Who is that?" And I was like, "Yes!" I was like screaming for her.
Julie and I started OCR at the same time, so she's only been in for a couple of years as well too, and then the year prior to last year, she was actually injured, and people don't know that, and so she was battling an injury all year. And so all of a sudden she was healthy, and then like people were like, she came out of the woodwork. But the cool thing is behind the scenes, like Jay Lee Earl and I all knew, like she's a force. Like she's.
That's what I remember seeing her at Battle Frog. Like it was like, holy crap, who is that? And then it was like, holy crap, where'd she go? And she came back. I was like, oh my gosh, I remember she was so badass.
Yeah. So I met Julie at Battle Frog in Lake Geneva. That's where we met, and it was her first Battle Frog ever, and she killed it. She did great, and then she raced the championship, and I think she placed like 5th or 6th overall at the Battle Frog championship, and that was only her 2nd Battle Frog ever. I think she took 5th. So so she's definitely just she's tough. So I always make jokes. I was on a team, and I was like the wimpy one. I was like, "Oh, hey, it's just me." So, yeah, there's some pretty amazing people that I get to call friends, so I'm very fortunate. So.
All right, we're going to start wrapping it up here on the podcast. But before we go, since we have Brenna and a guest on the line, we're going to start doing something to get to know each other a little bit better. So let's start off with Lisa, and then we'll do Brenna, and then I'll go. So tell us one thing that a lot of people don't know about you. We'll start with Lisa.
Well, I just learned that Brenna didn't know this about me, but I mean, I don't post it very publicly, but that I am a vegetarian. I'm a strict vegetarian, but I'm not a vegetarian for the reasons that most people now are. I actually am a vegetarian because one of my favorite animals is a cow. And I grew up loving cows, and I refuse to eat them. So I've been a vegetarian for 35 years.
Interesting. So I did not know that. That is good.
Yeah, like we just found this out. And I mean, again, the comment was that she's the only vegetarian we know that doesn't like post, "Hey, I'm a vegetarian. Look at me."
Right. Kind of. Well, and I'm okay with cooking meat. Like, I'm okay with it in life. Like, I get it. I get the purpose. I actually think hunters are a great thing because, it helps with population control as long as you do it the right way. So I'm not, like, one of those, like, PETA vegetarians, I guess. Sorry, guys. But I chose not to eat meat. And that's kind of been my life. So it's part of me. I guess I don't talk about it much.
Good one. Brenna, what do you got?
Okay, man, I'm gonna have to stop doing podcasts if we're gonna keep doing this because I hate this question. It's one of those questions that like when you fill out for all the TV shows and applications.
You should have a stack ready then, because you just applied to another one. Yeah.
But I guess I just I don't know. I'm an open book, so mine are kind of lame. So I've said it. I think it was in like a post we did, but maybe too many people don't follow our Facebook page. Shame on you.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, I first will say that I graduated high school when I was 16 years old with only like 3 years of high school. So I basically did my freshman year when I was 14, then I was a sophomore, and then I went my junior year for 2 days and became a senior, and then graduated when I was 16, and I did my first like college class that summer when I was 16 still. So yeah, I don't know, it's kind of random. Not because I'm a genius or smart or anything. I'm just smart in the sense that I got like certain credits done out of the way, so I just had a bunch of credits. And
Anna's disclaimer. She does that a lot.
Yeah.
She doesn't want the world to know.
So no, and it was like, well, it was one of those things that was like I could either go senior year and have like half days and then be like, ooh, look at me, I have a half day of school, or just go a full year and not have half days, and like I graduated a year early, so I was like, all right, all my friends were older, so it just made sense. I was like, I want out.
That's pretty awesome.
Cool. And I'm going to go with, so when I was in high school, one of my friends said they were doing TV auditions, or it wasn't actually auditions, they just needed extras for a show. So I was on Upright Citizens Brigade, a show with Amy Poehler and some other Comedy Central people. I was in the final episode of season 2 about Super Cool, which is like, they had this drug called Super Cool, but really it's just sugar is the kind of like the whole joke of the show.
We are so looking that up.
So me and my friend are they do like a skit where they're supposed to be doing a scared straight thing, and we are supposed to be the scared straight kids. So I have a couple seconds of screen time where like they show my reactions and stuff. So that's my
our group. That's amazing.
I have the DVD. I have the DVD. I have the DVD. I don't know if it's available on YouTube, but yeah. Final episode. It's the final episode of season 2. Super cool. Yeah.
Well, I thought you were going to say that like you're in a competition because I know you were kind of bummed that Jay just visited more countries than you recently by your flags, and I joked that like he has you beat on countries because you smoke them in miles. But I really wanted to say after a picture today, are y'all in a competition for facial hair?
I haven't seen this picture. We will be buying you a razor. I am telling you, at CTG Dallas, I am going to pin Jay down and shave his face. But the problem is his girlfriend likes it, so I feel really bad. If I send him home with no facial hair, he might get in trouble. But oh my God. Oh, I'm done with it.
So the picture of me is on KCOCR's Instagram. I'll share it to my Instagram.
Okay.
But
the Morena shorts. I literally was like, who? And I looked and saw our pro team shorts. I was like, holy shit, Evan's Scrup City.
No.
I've been on vacation. I haven't been working, so I just stopped shaving. I actually don't like it. My face is very itchy.
When I go to Europe, I'm going to be like, listen, fools, I've been on vacation. I'm not shaving.
Ironically, my body's still shaved. My face is hairy, though. So.
Yeah. See, that's the problem lies. No. Oh, that's awesome.
All right. So let's do some final shout-outs. Lisa, anyone you want to thank or sponsors you want to plug or anything like that before we go?
I definitely always want to plug Atomic Holds. They actually sit in both of my gymnastics gyms, so we have some of our kids using them. So we have them at Gymfidity, and then we also have them at Hybrid where I work. So yeah, I love my Atomic Holds, and then I am now using my my weight vest from, I'm gonna say it wrong. Say it for me. It's
Harbinger,
yeah, I'm always going to say it wrong. So I'm doing Murph on Monday with my weight vest on. So, that's not going to be good. But those are definitely two of the things that I am so very thankful for right now.
Brenna, what do you got?
Well, so this is more of like, because Conquer the Gauntlet Pro Team is a sponsor of the new event called Conquer Youth. Dave was on the podcast a little bit recently talking about Conquer Youth, and I'm the first pro team member that's been on the show that actually has been at Conquer Youth. So it was amazing. It was the most fun I've had at OCR in a really long time. So I was at Conquer Youth Wichita, and I just hope everybody goes and either volunteers and helps, or like if you have kids, sign them up, take them. It was awesome. So I know they have Conquer Youth in Kansas City on June 9th, and then Conquer Youth June 5th. I will be at that one. So super excited about this program and getting kids active and out playing. And it's kind of one of those, like, people are like, where was that when I was younger? And someone's like, it's the jungle gym. I mean, yes, but the obstacles, it's like 1 mile, give or take a little bit, with 10 really cool obstacles. And there's lanes, you know, like sizes for adults. Like I can play on them, and they're structurally, you know, I can complete every obstacle as an adult, but they're made for kids. So really cool. But yeah, shout out to that. So everybody check out Conquer Youth and go for sure. Awesome.
Cool. And I'm going to give a quick shout out to a couple of the partners we've teamed up with for Endure the Gauntlet. So Endure the Gauntlet, my 48-hour OCR challenge I'm doing in Tulsa at the end of August. One of the partners we have now is Elite Ops Energy Strips. So they're like 100 milligram caffeinated strips. So it's like a Listerine type of thing, and you put it on your tongue, and you have minty fresh breath, and then you get like a boost of caffeine. So we have a code SS10, gives you, I think, 10% off your order. So if you want to check those out, you can go to the Strength and Speed webpage, and we'll have that code. It's SS10. And then also for that, we're also partnering up with Link Endurance. Is going to be one of the media partners for Endure the Gauntlet, and they'll be doing some coverage for us actually at the event. I think that's about it. Lisa, thanks again for coming on. Definitely some enlightening information on this episode. And Brenna, always good to have you back on the show.
I'm excited. Plenty more coming.
All right. We'll catch you next week.